I wonder if they don't want to, around the baseball field, there's all the advertisers, like, they won't, because they're not overstep. No. Where's that? I haven't seen it. Oops. Maybe they were. I have. Even if it's that, and look at risk better in organizations.
Okay, we're live again, ladies and gentlemen. We just took a short break. We've already done our opening, but I'll do it again. I'd like to acknowledge that we are residing on and doing business on the traditional unceded territory of the Siouxsie people. And with that, we will move into our budget discussion today. And for those of you in the audience, you'll note that this is a draft budget. So this is just the initial discussion that we are having on, first of all, the water fund and the sewer fund, the operational portion. We're not dealing with capital expenses or capital projects today. We will be dealing with them at a future meeting that we will determine the date and time of that after this meeting is finished. With that, I would like to welcome anyone who is watching online. And we will allow you questions at the end of our budget discussion. If you have any input on the discussion that we have today, not on the draft budget or the capital portion, that will come at a later time, please. Because we have not delved into those capital projects and what the intent of the report is. So with that, I will turn to Mr. Fernandez and we will start with the water fund.
We could, yeah. Well, I'd just like to say a couple of words prior to this. Just for council's information and the public's information, council needs to be aware that there's no statutory process for budget. For municipal budgeting, it's basically left to the will of each council and the staff members to come up with what they see best in terms of working towards a balanced budget for the funds that we have in place. And consequently, there are wide differences in how budgeting is done in most municipalities. It's not all the same. That's not to say that anyone is better than others. We've had a system that worked for a number of years, actually 2.5 decades, worked well. It's put us in the situation where we are today, well, and in good financial standing, as a matter of fact. And so we've done something right, and our budgeting process works very well. For us to look at others, sure, we can look at others, but everybody's trying something different. But at the end of the day, it's to work out to see that you can collect the revenues that you need to meet your obligations. So for water and sewer, we basically have the revenues already predetermined. We've got the rates all established. So it's a matter of just reallocating those resources to the places that we think is most suitable. When it comes to the general fund, which is dealing with everything else, the services that you provide, other than the utilities, we've estimated what the revenues are. Besides taxes, we've come up with the requirements for each of the operational budgets. We've also come up with what we think desirable capital issues to be dealt with. But at the end of the day, based on those requirements, we have to determine how much taxes we have to collect. So everybody just comes up with a guesstimate. Well, we'll go with a 5% 4%, 6%. And the CBRE has gone up a lot higher, and it required the public to get involved. So if you look around, you will see that in the regional district communities, ours at the stage is the lowest that we are forecasting, a 4% tax rate. The next lowest that I could find is the city of College, where the increase is 4.9. So everybody's trying to juggle with numbers. And really, at the end of the day, when it comes to estimates, it's very hard to determine that. We've done our very level best to come up with what we think are the requirements for this year. Last year was a terrible year in a way, because we had cost overruns in a number of areas. But fortunately, we also didn't go out and spend the kind of money we had planned for capital purchases and capital assets. So that way we were fortunate. And so we've been able to transfer some of that money that we didn't spend last year to this year to make sure that we can continue to provide the services that the public are looking for. Now, one of the things that you will notice is revenues. We have been very conservative in how we determine what revenues, other than taxes, we have to collect. So that doesn't mean when we budget 100,000 for interest, that's what we're gonna collect. We know for a fact that we will at least collect that. And we were fortunate last year because province, the feds advanced us the grant monies, and so we were able to benefit from that. So this year, by the time we spend up those grants, we may not be in the same position that we were last year. So as you've indicated, we're gonna do the water and sewer fund. They're basically spoken for, and you may not like some of the capital items that we're looking at and how we want to go forward with. And then we'll deal with the general fund after, as the mayor suggested.
Thank you for that opening remark. I think it's important also to have an impact of what council feels that is important for capital projects moving forward, whether they be big or small. We appreciate all the work that goes into the preliminary work of the senior management team on bringing this forward as a starting point, so to speak. But there are, within best practices, input from elected officials as to what they would like to see implemented within the community for the betterment of the community. And I think that's where we're going later on, is if there are any smaller or large projects that we're looking at to incorporate the betterment of the community, that will be discussed as well at a future meeting. Given that, I think we're looking at the best practices of all municipalities within the province on how they do their budgeting systems. All are different, as you stated, and regional districts are even different again. At least we have the luxury in a municipality that we don't have to go through each one of these and treat them as a separate budget. Except water and sewer, which are separate items. Within our general and capital, we have the leisure of moving some monies around during the year if we need to, but you don't have that luxury in the regional district, and that's where the complexity of that budgeting process comes into play. It was probably the most difficult CBRD budget that I've had to deal with in the time that I've been there. Unfortunately, it didn't land at the number that I was hoping it would, despite some suggestions that were brought forward to try to reduce some of the impact, given that we are in a state of high prices, low employment rates. We're looking at various impacts on the residents within all communities on the ability to pay. And I go back to 1981, I'm of the vintage to remember that, when all levels of government in the recession decided that they were going to try to spend their way out. Whether it was federal, whether it was provincial, whether it was municipal. And there was, the only ones who benefited from that were lawyers who were lined up in the courthouses for foreclosures. And unfortunately, I hope and pray that we're not headed down that road. with double-digit interest rates and mortgage rates, but there are people that are hurting within our communities, and we have to take that into consideration. So there's my soapbox, and with the water fund, can we start with that? Ms. Gill?
Sure, thank you, Mr. McGrath. So the water fund is there. It was a single sheet. I hope everybody's got a copy. As the,
So, can we do the capital for those two items? That way it's out of the way.
The water and the sewer?
Yeah,
If we want to piggyback then, yes, let's do the water fund first, and then we'll go to the water capital. Okay, win the water fund, continue please, Ms. Gill.
as the CAO alluded, we've already sent out the annual utility bill, which is the user fees in both the water and sewer fund, and also the fire hydrant revenue. So the only other revenue coming in will be collected when property taxes go out in May for parcel taxes. And that shows in the actuals there. So we've increased the revenue on budget. And the budget line item is about almost 34,000. And there's been corresponding increases in the administration, in both the office and the public works. And you can see that 16 and 45,000. And we've increased the hydrants and the water meters by a small amount. So the fund, even after those increases in the expenditures, is still showing a surplus of $71,000 at the end of the year for 2024 as is budgeted. Capital for the year, which the superintendent can speak to, is 300,000, which is only up $30,000 from the year before. However, many of those are rebudgeted.
Thank you. And with that preamble, is there any questions from council? Councilor Sandu?
Just a couple questions. Under water fund safety training, last year it was budgeted for 4,500 and the actuals used was $537. So to date, so this year it's budgeted 4,500 and to date, there's been $2,281 utilized. Is that enough? If there, because we're only into March, for that amount. Well, yeah, to date, it says so, to date, safety and training. But right there, so what they use. I mean, I don't know.
I think the water fund actuals in the one that was emailed is wrong, so maybe just look at only the printout I gave you, because some of those I think I did the budget number twice, and then the formulas didn't come forward, so just look at the paper copies.
Oh, okay.
They're accurate.
So nothing's been speaking.
Nothing's
Nothing's been spent so far.
Okay, then my second question is for flushing, is that water main flushing or hydrant flushing?
water main connection.
So last year, only $1,800 was used, was that, due to water conservation, like? Or was just how?
Some of it was, we did less, but, there, I'm not sure why that's so low, it might have got, expensed somewhere else. We went through the town, but I just noticing that figure seems a little bit low, but.
That's my question.
Okay. Anyone else on the general portion? All good with that? So let's move to the water capital at the bottom of that water fund. And we will turn to our superintendent for those.
So water capital, we're, with 100 houses we're designing, it's being done as we speak, we're designing a new water system for the 100 houses. And then we're also gonna put a tender out for a new main coming from the water, reservoir into town. It needs to be upsized, it's too small to feed the whole of town now. So we'll be putting that to tender, so we'll have these designs ready in place, and we'll start looking for grant money. And we've got money to do these projects, so. And one of the requirements always is, are you shovel ready, meaning are the plans done? But if we give you money, can you start the job quickly? And that's why we're designing these now and having it ready to go.
Questions on that? On the water main upgrades from the reservoir down, there was discussion previously about a twinning system, or is it an as in?
Then we'll know when the engineers look at it, if we're gonna twin it or go one new bigger pipe.
And that is to accommodate fire flows, it's to accommodate.
Expansion in town, fire flow, and even, some of the reasoning, 100 houses, we lose pressure there so fast, if you open up our lines, just, we can't feed the town enough water.
Any further questions? Okay, go ahead.
Are there grants out there right now?
They're always coming out, once we have them ready, we'll start on them.
Do we have a timeline for those designs to come back for consideration?
One should be done maybe within a month, the 100 houses.
Okay.
The other one
is the water main.
The other one we haven't.
Anything further? Do you want those approved today
No,
or would you just discuss?
yeah, this is just,
Okay, so taking those two into consideration. There was also discussion of looping in some areas. Has that been accommodated? For instance, Greendale, where water flows, it was identified in the water. There's a couple of deficiencies within some of the systems for that.
Some of the areas we have moved, we did, Beaver Road, McDonald Road last year. Joel Road, Trails Edge, that subdivision about moved to that one right there. So we're slowly working on it. Point Ideal just got done, matter of fact, yeah. With the new subdivision going in and it was a dead end at the end of where it goes to the campsite, so that's all moved now.
And the reason I'm asking about the looping is, for instance, the Trails Edge would be contiguous to your proposed 100 houses upgrade. Whether that would be within the design of perhaps implementing from that system to accommodate the servicing of that area, or would it come from lower down on Stone Avenue, et cetera, where it crosses the highway?
So it'll come from Stone and then loop back into Hammond area, the roundabout. Right now it doesn't loop there, it's dead ends. Good.
Anything else? So remember those for the capital discussion later. We'll move to the sewer fund, Ms. Gill, one of the three envelope funds, or Joseph?
yeah, just going back to the 100 houses.
Yes.
I think it was already pre-approved by council earlier in the year,
Yes.
so even if you change your mind
Prior to
now,
budget, this is prior to budget that we did some decisions before implementation. There was a couple of them that we did. Can remind us going forward, the ones that we did.
yeah, you can't change your mind.
No, unless, no, I can bring it. I do have that. But I wouldn't do it, I'd have to declare a conflict because I live in 100 houses, and there's only 98 of them in there, if you want conflict. Okay, moving to the sewer fund, sorry.
Okay, the sewer fund is there. As I mentioned, the user fees are already included. The only additions to that would be the quarterly metered billings. And they're a little bit harder to predict. Last year, we had shown borrowings of $2 million from the Greendale residents to complete the sewer line out there. That did not happen. So you see some huge budget swings in the numbers there, but that's what that is. This year, we're showing sewer facilities grant of $1.2 million. That's for the sewer treatment plant that we got, and the corresponding capital you can see below in the capital is 1.5 million. So this fund is doing quite well. We're showing a $1,000 surplus as presented, and the general maintenance looks high in 2023 because we've expensed all the costs related, the engineering and design costs that the town spent, and that project did not go forward. If anybody has questions.
Questions on that portion of it? I'll go to Councilor Naka first.
I was just wondering where it shows the grants that we received.
It's broken over a number of years. The 1.2 is this year's share, and we're doing it over 4 years.
Oh,
So the appropriate portion to drop during the.
You'll see that during the 5-year plan when we present that.
hoping it was a lump sum and we would be making some interest on it.
That one we didn't get a lump sum. They're gonna pay us. Has to be in the budget. Progress payments.
After the fact, yeah.
Thank you.
Concludes for you, Councilor Sandu.
Sandy disposal expense, $10,000. I've never seen that.
So that's a cost we've thrown in there. Now that it's automated, there's monthly costs. With Stripe, there's monthly costs of the equipment. And so this being the first year, it is in the capital there. Last year, we bought the equipment, but it was moved to inventory for year end. So once we get around to it, we'll be expensing that into the capital budget there. That's been pre-approved. And there is going to be costs. So we've decided to separate the revenue out. It was being lumped into other revenues before, so it'll show what the revenues are, and then you can see what the expenses are.
I did notice the revenue.
Yeah.
Okay. Councilor.
Just an update on the Greendale sewer, so that's been put to bed for how many years, like what's the process now?
1 year at least.
So we skip this year, then next year we address it again.
Well, basically, they should come back to us. You know, at this stage of the game, it makes not a lot of sense to pursue it unless there's provincial legislation or a mandate saying they have to.
Right.
But at this stage of the game, do you want to pursue that? It's up to council. Do you want to pursue that when you know that most, more than 50%?
So it would be best if they form a group and actually talk to us.
No, they can petition us.
Yeah, but as a group,
As
yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you.
I think that, given the results of that would be the avenue that I would proceed coming forward. I would want to see us go forward and implement another area bylaw per se, knowing the results that we had last time. There may be some additional information coming down from the province on implementing that through legislation or other orders, but until that or this other process happens, I think we take this year off, implement the capital projects that we're looking at in the sewer treatment plant, and the ones that are listed below in the capital. Just previous to going into the capital, were there some that we did pre-approve prior to the budget discussions in the sewer as well? Can you just the sandy dump, right?
And the grant,
And the grant, yes, so
the grant.
the grant, you approved, I think, $500,000 for engineering.
So we implemented prior to the budget a pay-to-use sandy dump system.
And the sewer treatment plant, not the entire amount,
No,
just I think, just under 500,000
for the,
for the engineering.
correct. So just so we know about those two. Councilor Austin, do you have some?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Take the scratching. Councilor Frisbee.
Just back to the Greendale thing, what was the final result as far as people defeating it, like, was it resounding?
Yeah, I think it was 58%,
58% of people.
not a lot.
So I guess that we wouldn't have got a response from everybody, it's just, we know what the number of people are, and we got 58 negatives.
Correct, 58 against.
Yeah,
That's what it meant.
and was there any anyone voting for? I guess. it
No,
was-
they only have to vote if they vote.
Okay, thanks.
Councilor Sandu.
Just under sewer liquid maintenance, is that like all your chemicals and, equipment repairs? And whatnot? Like under that amount of 120,000?
Yeah.
So,
And some motors and stuff like that we had.
So last year we had budgeted for 95 and we were at 143, 223. And I'm just wondering with the possible changes and different things coming up, what's gonna happen this year with our sewer lagoon?
Yeah.
Is that gonna be enough?
Yeah, that's included in the 1.5. The 1,500,000, we have enough to meet our obligations based on our meetings that we've had.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
It'll
so
be
that's
that.
under that instead. Okay, thank you.
That is if you approve the 1.5, and
Yeah.
you all you decide to take that out.
I don't know that we'll be doing that, but you never know.
You never know.
Okay, so that will bring us down to the capital portion. And I will turn to Mr. Sandu, our superintendent, for any input on those.
So, sewer capital, you'll see the lift station upgrades. Will be on the one who said the Riverside and Central Park, electrical upgrades there this year. It's an old electrical system and Hydro wants us to upgrade that. And some of the other ones around town, we continuous upgrade with maintenance, we have to keep on doing, so that's what that money's there for. And Sandy Dunn, spoken to that, that's in place now and operating. And the I&I, continuous, I&I issue, we gotta, try to improve around town. We've, located a bunch of manholes this year that we're gonna do some repairs on, that's some severe leaks.
Okay. And the 1.5, of course, for the sewer plant upgrades. Questions on that? Councilor Frisbee.
The lift stations 1 and 4 upgrade, we didn't do them last year, we don't need to do them.
Well, what we did, we took that money, just put it all in the one. We could have scrapped that by, so that's
Oh, so there's the lift station
we
upgrade.
just put all the money into one, so if one is more than the other, it's.
Just a question on the sewer I&I that was budgeted last year at 180. I see no expenditures in there. Was there something that was?
Yeah, there was, yeah.
Yeah, I can answer that. All of the ones were under the threshold for capitalization for, financial statement purposes, so they've been classed into the expenses.
So they show that.
So they show this expenses now, yeah.
But there was some I&I.
There was I&I work and there was some other generators and stuff, but if they're below 15,000, then 15 to 20,000, then they don't meet the capital asset management thresholds, and then they're expensed at year end.
Okay, and look, I'm sorry, Councilor Mackey, go ahead.
Oh, you finished.
Um,
No, I was just.
I just-
I was just gonna say for the benefit of people on Zoom and in the audience, whether you or the superintendent can explain I&I.
Inflow and infiltrations, or we speak in acronyms here. I should remember that. My apologies. I is inflow and infiltration.
I guess we should have an explanation, some of these items at the bottom.
Yes. So lift station, what's a lift station? That helps remove, never mind. You know, it's a pumping system to remove waste. Yes. Question on the sandy dump system, pay to use, is up and running?
Except they put glitch today for some reason, but
A glitch.
Just a minor glitch.
Yeah.
There was no cell service.
is it just at the end?
Yes, but if you can write and jot them down so you remember. In the back of your hand, that's called your palm pilot. That is the 80s. I told you I'm of that vintage. Okay, so that, I'm sorry, Councilor Maka?
I just want to ask the superintendent, so a glitch, so how long did it take to resolve?
They were still working on it, I don't know if it's resolved yet. It would take somebody's credit card, so I don't know if there's a credit card issue or if there's an issue.
So on the payment system, it's either credit card or debit card,
Yes.
either payments. No cash.
No, no.
That will alleviate considerable problems in my opinion, but. Councillor Frisbee, you have anything, or no, well, just smiling? Well, this has been a long time, discussion by many councils in the past, but this, so let's see where it goes and. How successful it is in the upcoming years. And we'll move this capital discussion, the remainder of it, to our future meeting. And if it's the will of the body, we can move to a discussion on plaque. If that appeases staff and council, we do that. Mr. Smith, how are you today?
Excellent.
Excellent. I'm fair Midland, but thanks for asking. So let's get into the plaque here. You want to separate these, plaque and Lake here, or do you want to deal with the operational? Let's deal with the operational separately, please, if you can.
So I guess basically, just to start a conversation, the projections that we have for sales are based upon opportunities that groups are commented that they'll found or deposits that we have been coming. So I'm more than confident that we'll reach those targets plus more. And with our operation, the period of under promise and over deliver. And you'll notice that if you look at the end of February summarized version of our accounts, it's a little different. The financial bureau here is, I think, probably pushed over some of the small capital projects into, am I right, Ronnie?
I did.
Because we don't meet the threshold of capital projects, sometimes we'll see it over. So it looks a little bit different at the end of February.
Here, questions? Councilors.
Are we, so can we talk on the capital, like,
No, yeah, we're just looking at the operational, if you have questions
I see.
on that. Okay.
when was the last time, we did an increase in rates at the plaque?
Last year we did 15%,
Was it?
and this year 5%. During COVID, nothing. And in fact, what I'm seeing is, I think groups are starting to get a little stronger again because of COVID seems to be our review year, I hope, and so things are good.
Okay. Any other questions on the operation? No?
So you can't touch them carefully.
We will shortly. So now we'll move to that. That was just a pause. On the capital portion, let's start with plaque.
Okay, so right at the top of line, alternate heat source. So we looked at that and very, near the end of the year, we were able to get a couple of quotes in for heat pumps. Then all of a sudden someone came in and said, you know what, I don't think heat pumps are gonna work. So we're still looking at that. Because we had a difference of opinion of someone who had experience with a facility like ours and said, wait a minute, you may be stuck with the system you have. Or you're gonna have a newer boiler system that could be $300,000, which is way out of target. Excuse me. So we're just still looking at things, investigating for a better heat system because we want to reduce our propane usage, which is high.
And I think we've identified that as a significant contributor to our GHG emissions, plaque and
For sure.
works facilities. Do everything we can to reduce that. Has there been any discussion on geothermal within plaque grounds with all the lands that are there?
The last person that came in talked a bit about that. But again, you can put a lot of money into that. It could, may not do it.
No, absolutely. We have to look at the return of investment for sure. That's still being looked into, the alternate source. Any other questions? Councilor Frisbee?
So that $65,000 that's in the budget, is that? Yeah, what are we basing that figure on?
Quotes.
Sorry, quotes of heat pumps, so we do go with heat pumps. then.
One heat pump.
Yeah.
And also another system to upgrade the boiler system that we have.
Yeah,
Since 1965, that system's been in place.
Yeah.
Because, you know, at the time, propane was cheap. And then we have a hot water system that we lose heat when we provide the hot water goes through the ground to different buildings. So basically, we know we can't heat the whole place with heat pumps or in that situation. But we can maybe do some heat pumps in the smaller locations that will reduce some increase the efficiency.
and that's what that price is, it's just, it's not for the heat pumps for the whole place, it's just for ones that are identified that could be used.
Two different rooms, one big room, the main hall.
Yep.
That's probably the main source, because we have a lot of window space there, as you know.
Yep.
And it's a very, very big room, way bigger than this.
Yep.
And so that's where the high costs are. You're in your mind.
So thank you.
Sorry about that.
That's Siri?
Yeah, it's coming up.
So I'm silent too.
I don't, yeah. I don't like Siri.
Chat GPT.
I tell her, Siri, phone Betty. She said, I don't know who your daddy is. Anyways, continuing on.
So again, the bottom line on heat source, it's not as simple as we first thought. And we have another person coming in with a heat pump quote, and they think that maybe it is magic. And if, even if it's just in the big room and do some modifications in some of the other areas, then, you know, we'll still, that figure is important to have in there for sure. I believe.
Okay, Councillor Sandin, you had something?
That's a kind of a question I had. It went from 30,000 2023 budget to 65,000. So I was wondering if that was just an increase in the supply of it. And then going to paint, the budget for 2023 is 5,000. There was nothing used. And then this year it's budgeted at 15,000. Is that for more buildings or just the cost increase?
Well, the not a cost increase, if you're doing more of the main building.
Yeah.
We have 8 quote already, and I'm even low on that one. And the quote just came on me up today, I won't believe the quote, but it's more than that for the main building. In the past, we have done that under elevation programs, but we do want to look at it. It's not terrible, but I'd rather have it kicked up a notch,
Thank you.
Okay, and next, we have carpeting and flooring for the dorms, or is that for which building was that accommodated?
Well, we did some carpeting last year, and this year, we'd like to do another area, so that we keep improving each spot. But I do have to say that, as you know, we may be having someone that's interested to contribute some money to our facility. And so these figures, it could even be a little bit higher, depending on what we select to do with them, the North Island people get in place. We shall find out more in the future.
Now, one of the questions that came forward was on the dock. So I will let you carry on.
I clarified with Mr. Smith point, so the funding, the grants are at the, so the dock and the walkway have both been taken over by budget.
On Thursday night, we found out that, in fact, we did not get that grant application approved. Actually, very disappointing. And next week I have a full discussion with a lot of the people involved. We'd like to see, you know, take a look at it again, and we'll look at other alternatives as well.
So that clarified for you? Yes. And the painting we have dealt with, electrical. Upgrade,
Some of the electrical that we're looking at it's in combination of the different heat sources. Because one of the buildings that we, you know, our newest unit is 9 individual rooms. We have little heaters only in the bathrooms. And we probably have to, if we're gonna go for heat pump for the 2 other buildings, then we probably have to cut off the water to that one and put electrical improvements in there, small baseboards. That would be the most efficient. That we know.
questions on that? Currently, it's heated with propane.
Yes,
That would be a reduction in the GHGs. Thank you, and then plaque renovations. You had 48.2 in 2022, which I can't see what was expended, nothing budgeted in 2023. So just renovations for, if you don't mind.
Yeah, a small amount of renovations are always something to be done in the center. And that could vary from picnic tables to whatever. But $5,000 isn't go very far. We try and keep it at a reasonable budget for cost.
Okay, questions on any of these? So the increase is in the capital from 95,000 in 2023 to 98,000 this year. Depending on some of the collaborative approaches that you're chasing. Was that a political answer?
Good one.
Councilor Frisbee, please.
So if we look at this capital expenditures and your operating budget. With the revenues forecasted, we're currently going to. The town will be paying 130,000. For this year. We're gonna be losing 130,000.
Well, I think we have to reflect back on one of the alternative feed sources we did last year. Part of that was, if I can refer to, Donna for a minute. I think that source came out of the community development fund.
Sorry?
Last year's budget, the funds that we had came out of the community development fund that we had.
The 23,000 for the septic system came out of the Gordon Communities Fund, and the 65, the alternate heat source. I think is eligible to come out of that funding as well.
So some of these figures are applied to.
So
Yeah. Town in fact.
So they wouldn't be tied to requisition, they would be tied to that fund.
No, of the 3.15 million that we have showing in the total capital expenses, 1.9 is coming from grant revenues or from reserves.
But just to follow up, obviously grant money can be used in different ways. But in general. The fleet will cost us 130,000 this year based on revenue.
You could put it that way, but this council voted last year to spend some of those funds on capital. That was all.
Anything further on that? So these again, capital projects, will go forward to our future meeting. For the rediscussion, where are we on Lakeview? Lakeview Capital.
This was, Lakeview Capital, at the present time, we're building the upgrade to Lakeview Park Lawn, that's the major one. And if you were to go down there for a stroll on a day like today, you see the building is, I can say, 50% complete. It'll be completed by May 1st, apparently. The renovation, and we have completely new steel roof on it, which is looking pretty good. And we'll be within the budgets that we've allocated here. And again, I think that as Director of Finance said, these are funds that are coming from the community. I believe,
85,000 is coming out of the fund, Golden Communities Fund.
Yeah.
Okay, questions on the capital period? Yes.
Just as far as process, so I know that council had to approve the contract for demolition of the Mildred Annex building. With the construction of the Lakeview washrooms and the Central Park washrooms, does that not come to council for approval for a contractor to be given that contract?
That was, I think, was given, was brought to council, yeah.
The contractor was
Not the contract of law.
just approving the budget.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to clarify the process between the demolition there, how we had to approve the contractor.
Because this was not a job that we hired somebody to do. It was a company that provided it to. And I think in this case, we just hired. It would be hired
local contractor.
to build it, so it wasn't a piece. And we had gone up with those from other people, so it was on an hourly basis, not based on a flat fee. It's based on, I think, I got it right, it's based on a fee for service, right? That's right.
So for clarity, we're building this at time and material. Is that what we're saying?
I didn't hear that question.
So I'm trying to clarify why council has to approve the contract for the demolition here. But when we're building washrooms, that doesn't come to council to get approval on the contractor. Like, why is that process not brought here?
The demolition of the Mildred Child was sent to an RFP, so those would come in as submissions from different companies. And we would have a staff recommendation and that would come.
Yep.
On the sole source, capital projects, we approve the project itself. And then we leave that within the operational portion to implement that construction within the budget that we've set.
And to
There
follow
was
up,
no RFP for
right,
construction.
is it general practice to build something like that on time and material, you'd want a budget for what it's gonna cost, wouldn't you?
Well, get a price from the contractor.
Yeah, so it's not time and material, or is it an estimate?
You know, it's based upon an estimate and we've used local contractors for this type of project in the past.
Yeah.
Or a combination of things, so we're usually right on target.
Right.
So if someone said it's gonna cost $70,000 or $85,000, then, you know, we hold them to that. CAO signs a PO for that.
Yeah.
And then we manage it.
It's not what I would classify as time and material then. There's an estimate given, that's what they held to, so it's a quote.
But yeah, we would never just do it just the materials.
Thank you.
For the signage,
Well, if anyone looked at the sign, looking for Lakeview Park and the Education Center, it's awful. We have a quote coming in from a sign company in London, and we're gonna go away from the wood and do a steel sign, much like you'll see in provincial parks and state parks in the United States. The last forever, get some improved coating on it, and it'll be really attractive. And we'll have signs that face both ways, coming from essentially or Lake Action. That should be up by May 1st as well. We welcome people to our area. And we'll have a place on the bottom where signs will go up for special events. It could be a biking race or something, and two little chains go on, welcome cyclists.
Campsite full.
And yes, or something. Pardon me?
campsite full,
Or campsite, oh, if that,
not the hand painted ones that we use.
exactly. So we're gonna do an upgrade, it should look nice, and I know over the years, people have asked for some sort of lighting there. It's not all that easy and pretty expensive, it would be nice to have, but. The major part of most of our customers find the place, they don't get lost, the odd person may, but we all get lost somewhere, so. But it would be a nice touch, you know, if we had extra money, we would probably do that.
I know I sound like a broken record, but so we're willing to spend $10,000 on signage, but there's still no marketing budget for Cliff or Lakeview.
It's a good question. Let me rephrase something. Well, okay, I won't read something, but I'm gonna go back for a few meetings, I'm gonna repeat myself probably the third time. We're working very closely with the group right now, that's gonna be signing with us for agreement for 5 years. That group is gonna bring their expertise. It's in writing, and you'll see all this stuff in the next couple months. They're gonna bring their expertise and they're gonna help market and manage our systems for advertising and marketing in the center. And it's not Lakeview Park so much, but the center. Lakeview Park is pretty well represented. So we will do that for sure. I'm not gonna put money in there because it's not operating and or the group that we're working with will be involved in this for the funds.
I understand that we've been looking at business plans and we're approving budgets, but we don't know who this entity is or any details behind it. So it's hard to make decisions based on not knowing what's going on.
I know that, and I'm sorry about that. I'll tell you why I don't say anything. I can't say anything much more. Because if I were to hand over a piece of paper now that shows you what they're going to do, I can discuss it with the CAO and our management team as well. But then it's so public, I don't want to take a chance that some other organization may try and approach this organization to be more, should create a partnership. So be careful. But if you want, at the direction of council, I would be happy to do that.
I think that would best be residing as a service to be
Yeah.
provided to the municipality under the local government act. That would be discussed in panel.
Yeah, I think it's
That would
important.
be the best place for that to reside, if you're looking for clarification.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard because we're trying to make decisions
Well,
and we have no idea what's going on. So yeah, maybe an in-camera session would be.
So at the next council meeting, next Tuesday, if you could come and join us.
It'd be my pleasure.
Oh, you're just saying that, but we appreciate it. And just,
No, I will be my pleasure, because I think it's important to do, and it's a fair enough question for the council, right? I understand.
we've been looking for an open dialogue on that for quite some time, and I think you can't divulge certain amount of it, but at least there is an outside entity that is looking to collaborate.
Yes, it'd be great.
And that will come for our input and discussion at our council meeting in camera. Under the local government act. I can't quote the 92/190.12
It's the issue of a provision of service.
provision of service to a municipality. And we already discussed the washroom. I'm gonna look at the electrical upgrade within Lakeview Park. I don't see that as being implemented within any campsite. Opportunities, given that they're approximately $10,000 a piece to service those.
We have a few problematic ones that we need to address that have to be either replaced, as the small medicine themselves. Or remedies, and it costs money to do that, other than. And so I'm just pointing out that's what we need to do.
So if I can just ask on the electrification of the campsite, how many sites are currently electric?
Got about, should know, figure out by heart, probably. 25 are on?
I thought it was closer to 35.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say 30.
I should know, but you know, it doesn't matter to me, it's like, I don't remember we telephone them, we don't.
I'm just looking at
So,
There's,
how we can perhaps implement future capital projects to more electrification and watering services. To accommodate that, that would be something that we would be looking at in the future or desire to even discuss. If they in the future, I know we've talked about it in the past.
Yeah.
Because those are the first ones to build. As soon as it's opened up,
that's great.
electrified sites, especially the ones along the lakefront, they're the first ones gone all year. You can't, if you aren't in there first,
People try and bribe me, I know.
absolutely, I did, no, I don't. But just something to think about in the future, about future upgrades. That is a revenue generator, Lakeview Park. And for those who don't remember, it used to reside in Public Works, as a matter of fact. That's where the management of Lakeview was at one point. And I remember it. I know, I am. I told you I was a vintage of 1981, but it's significantly more than that. And just to see the upgrades and the condition of that facility, for the majority, there are some deficiencies, and we all understand that within the realm of what we can accommodate within the capacity and the budget that we have. We do have a band in there, and it's one of the gems of our area. I think certain people on this table not to put it off. But with that,
Excuse me, I thought you were going to say that we'll give it back to public works, I'd love to do that, you know, you can have it inside.
given the condition it was handed to you in, I wouldn't want to do that. I'm being honest. Because again, it's capacity, would that reside within public works? That wasn't the appropriate spot for Lakeview campsite to reside, given all the other services.
So just give it to me, thank you.
We'll give it a clap. Resurfacing gravel and sand,
That's an ongoing situation.
roofing of the major building.
That was the all completed, it was gonna be some real good.
Is this another capital project that we do?
the washrooms?
No, the roofing.
I don't think so. No, actually, the roofing was in,
That was carried over.
You know what? we're gonna do a small roof on the mill building as well. It's as simple as that.
Do it all.
It's getting done, $5,600 in fact, it has to be done.
No, absolutely. Okay, there's your capital from Lakeview, and we will move that to the next budget meeting. We are zooming right along, so I think we should continue. If you're okay with continuing.
It could be done today, huh?
Well, I don't think we'll be done, we'll have a future capital project. Future discussion, so I'm just gonna take a 5-minute break. So that we can utilize facilities, recharge our.